All right, Facebook. Welcome to the live. I don't know how many of you saw this, but recently I had posted asking the internet or asking all of you a question. Um, Facebook is asking me to customize. Okay, maybe later. So I had asked a question, um, about self-sabotage. I had asked the internet if, hello, welcome to the live. If you're just signing on, drop a comment, drop a hello so I know who you are. And Facebook doesn't actually let me see you. So if you're signing on, say hello. And if you're watching the replay, go ahead and type hashtag replay into the comment section. This does help with the algorithm, right? So when you interact, when you like, you comment, when you share, that does help more people get this. So that's awesome if you do that. But a couple, I think like 10, 11 days ago, I had asked people if I were to create a free guide on self-sabotage, if people would be interested in that. And so I did. I did go ahead and create the guide. And I've been thinking a lot about this, in particular when it comes to self-sabotage and small business owners. And I have a theory, and it's based on a Jessica. Hi, welcome to the live. It's based on a certain amount of research that I had actually done personally. Right. So a couple months ago, there was a period in my coaching practice where I actually started to scale back on the number of one-on-one clients I was seeing. And I was doing research essentially, specifically with small business owners, solopreneurs. And I wanted to find out, from the mouth of babes, right? That's what you business owners, you're babes to me. You're total babes. I think it takes so much courage, and I think it's so gutsy to be in business for yourself. And I love serving that community. So I wanted to hear from the mouth of the babes. I wanted to know what's going on with you. What are your challenges as you language them, right? What do you perceive to be your biggest challenges? And after doing that research for, I think it was about 6 or 7 weeks, a ton of surveys, ton of interviews, people languaged it differently. So people would language their challenges differently, but essentially we found two categories of business owner, and I would call category A problems of cash flow and producing cash, and I would call category B problems of scale. Okay, problems of scale. So a problem of scale is essentially I have a ton of incoming leads. A lot of people want to do business with me, and there's just not enough of me to go around, right? So if, for example, you're one of the real estate agents that I interviewed or talked to, perhaps you are an absolute utter badass of real estate, right? And you know how to generate those leads, you're doing it all the time. But the challenge is you can't grow until um, you can't grow until you find a way to either clone yourself, hire a team, hire more agents, start to scale and build a high performance culture, because there's only one of you. And you'll see this a lot of times. There are a lot of brokers who are amazing real estate agents themselves, right? These epic realtors who can produce so much business themselves, and then they start to build a team, and then they have a new set of challenges, right? And a friend of mine, James, is actually live on another group right now. James has this amazing saying. He says, new level, new devil. And so the challenges of leadership, the challenges of scale, the challenges of growth are a completely different set of challenges. But for this live, what I want to focus on is actually the first group. I want to focus on the group that is having the challenges of cash flow. I want to focus on the people who they have a ton of potential. So and the reason for this is I actually deeply resonate with this group. Like I feel a connection with this group of people. I feel like I'm called to serve this for a very particular reason. And that's because nobody has struggled with self-sabotage more than yours truly. I'm not saying it's a competition, but if it was, I would be the GOAT. I was the greatest of all time. So if you're not familiar with my story, yeah, I could not figure out how to get myself to do those really simple, basic things that were absolutely essential for me to do. And for most of the business owners I talk to, by the way, never, ever self-sabotage as bad as I did, right? Which actually is, I think, worse for them, paradoxically, because it got so bad for me. I procrastinated so much. I destroyed, like literally drove my life essentially straight into the ditch by just not handling my stuff for various reasons. We're going to talk about that too. We're going to talk about what are those causes of self-sabotage. But because I did end up driving it straight into the ditch, I had to climb my ass out, right? I had to go figure out how I was going to get in control of myself. How do you develop self-mastery? Where does self-mastery actually come from? And so I tried stuff. Man, I went to traditional therapy, did CBT, Rogerian, hypnotherapy, past life regression. Yeah, that was interesting. Hi, Deb. Thank you. Thank you. It took me a really, really long time. It took me a really, really, really long time, which is why I'm called. I don't think it should be this hard to find how to actually be able to shift yourself. I don't think you should have to go to all these different modalities. There are very quick, very simple interventions that you can do at home on yourself from the comfort of your computer. It does take a little guidance, but anywho. So that was a gift for me. That was an absolute gift for me. I ended up finding out about the things that I'm going to be sharing with you here. Deb, interesting question. Interesting question. So, and this is why I don't believe in past life. If anybody from HMI is on the lives, Hypnosis Motivation Institute here in Tarzana, a lot of the people from that school of hypnosis do past life regression. And I'll tell you why I don't believe in it. And the answer is because we go in for the class, right? And so in order to do a past life regression, they have to hypnotize the crap out of you, right? They have to zone you through the floor. And so we go in, they knock me into this deep trance. And then the next thing that happens is I'm having this vivid experience, hallucination, right? And I'm running through the woods. I have a hatchet in my hand, okay? And I'm buck naked, okay? With like a loincloth or like some type of canvas thing. And I'm running through the woods with this hatchet. And I realized I'm a Native American and I'm running through the countryside. This was real for me. Like this was real. It was vivid. And it was like, right? And then suddenly I spliced into another quote unquote past life. Right? This is not the direction this live was supposed to go, but that's okay. So this is a past live. Get it? So there I am, right? And I splice into this other past live, and what I realized in that past live, for me, this was my experience. You know, you can have your own belief system, no judgment. But I realized that I was essentially Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai. Meaning I was the only white guy leading an army of Chinese ninjas into battle, right? And the other thing is it was the me in that scenario. I passed by a river, like a reflecting pool, where I could see a reflection of myself. I looked identical to me today, but a little bit better looking and a little bit taller and in much better shape. So it was so clearly a fantasy projection of myself that I thought, in my opinion, I think past life regression is more of a fantasy of your unconscious. Doesn't mean it's not useful. Doesn't mean it's not, well, to me, I don't find it particularly useful. That's my opinion. But anywho, let's go back to the original topic, right? I tried all of these things, including past lives, running through the woods like a Native American in my past life, with the hopes of learning how to develop self-mastery. How do you get to a place where you're in command? You know, you stop the procrastination, you get to that productive, consistent flow, you take your self-doubts, your fears, your insecurities, and you transform them into not only confidence, but the confidence to be authentic and to be yourself and to be okay with that. And then to be able, especially for business owners, the reality is as a business owner, the sheer amount of overwhelm, the sheer amount of information about here's how you do this, that, and the other, the sheer amount of stress that you have to deal with. The sheer amount of rejection that it takes to actually be successful, in my opinion, you have to be an absolute freaking warrior to be able to succeed. And so for me, these things were absolutely essential to be able to develop that and find that type of self-mastery that lets you go and get the edge so you can totally create that business for yourself. So what I've found essentially, and was through the research, the interviews, but this was also through my own personal coaching practice, working with business owners one-on-one, for example, with real estate agents, helping them double their production over the course of a year, helping people who are struggling to get business fill their pipeline, right? Working with coaches, I've worked with therapists as well. Essentially, what I've learned is that when somebody is sabotaging their business, they're suffering from one of four problems. And if we can take these four problems and actually realize they're not problems at all, but they're features of your nervous system. These are features of your neurology. And if we can use them correctly, we transform that self-sabotage into a much more successful mindset, okay? So the four features are you guys ready? All three of you, are you ready for the four features of the nervous system? Can I get an amen? Can I get a thumbs up? Can I get a give us the features, Peter? Can I get a hells yeah? Deb said, and you were sober. I was, in fact, sober. I was, yes. I think you're referring to Yashmashta. Okay, young apprentice. I will now share with you the keys. Okay, so the first is clarity. So I know this is obvious and this is foundational, but I am yet to meet somebody in my coaching practice or outside of it who's able to clearly articulate what it is that they want. 99% of the time, when we're in a negative space or our business isn't doing what we want it to, we're so caught up in that negative thought loop that we haven't even thought out or articulated what it is we want for ourselves. So clarity we need, not just in terms of outcome, not just in terms of the profit you need for your business, your revenue goals, not just that, you have to have that, but also clarity of strategy. If you don't know the how, if you don't know the 3 to 5 ways that you can consistently produce leads for your business, then of course you're going to self-sabotage. There's not even something for you to sabotage yet. How can you sabotage what you don't even know how to do, right? So we have to get clear. We have to get clear on outcome. We have to get clear on strategy. And then we have to get clear on why this is important, right? We need to not only know why this is important for you, but we have to be associated to what your deepest reasons for growing that business are. And you have to be associated to those on a regular basis. When you think about what's important to you in your business, and you actually take a second to tap into it, that is your inner drive. That is your inner motivation. But most people are not tapping into it, not accessing what's actually their inner driver to succeed in the first place. Okay, so we have to have clarity. If this is making sense, type clarity into the chat or into the comments. Get clarity. This is not like Scientology clarity. We're not going to go clear. We're going to get clear. Not go clear, get clear. Okay? So clarity, it's absolutely essential. Until you have clarity, you don't even have anything to sabotage. But let's get in, assuming that you have clarity. I'm going to pretend, for example, that you know exactly what to do to grow your business, but you're just not, right? So my assumption here, powerful Deb, my assumption is that you know what to do, but you're somehow not doing it. Okay, so either procrastination, maybe you have inconsistent action. So sometimes you do the right thing and then you fall off like a yo-yo, right? Deb is hating on Tom Cruise / Scientology. Got it, totally. So let's talk about resistance. Let's talk about resistance for a second. All resistance comes down to a values clash. Right? Earlier, we talked about what's important to you in your business, right? I was essentially getting at what are the values that are driving you to succeed or not. So when you think about Values. Values are the things you want to experience. Powerful Earl, welcome to the live. And the things you don't want to experience. So all resistance, all procrastination is driven by a values clash. One part of you wants A, the other part of you wants B. Okay, so this could show up in a couple different ways, right? On the one hand, I really want to call on new business. On the other hand, I'm terrified of rejection, right? On the one hand, I really do want to start my coaching practice, but on the other hand, it seems like a lot of responsibility, right? On the one hand, I want to be successful, but on the other hand, I'm afraid to fail, right? This is called a values clash. There's some really, really interesting research to come out of Harvard in the last couple years. Robert Keegan, I think is the name of the author. They wrote a book called Immunity to Change. And how they language this is they call these values clashes competing hidden commitments or competing commitments, where we're committed to success, but one part of us is also committed to not feeling embarrassed, right? All resistance, every time you don't go to the gym and you sit on your couch and eat Cheetos, right? You're experiencing a values clash. Here's where it gets freaking amazing, though. This is the part that is super cool, okay? That motivation that's stopping you, that's causing the values clash, you can actually align it with the action that you want to take. Very quickly. Very quickly. This is not a year's type thing. This is a hour-long type of thing, okay? You can take what was stopping you, align it with the vision, the dream, the plan, the actions that you want. And it's literally the difference between having your foot on the gas and one foot on the brake, and then taking your foot off the brake. When you take the resistance and transform it, what you're doing essentially is aligning your deepest core motivations, the essence of what inspires you, the essence of what drives you, and you align that with the very actions that will build your business. You will become unstoppable. You will become compulsive. You will become addicted in a way to the very things that are going to make you successful. Okay? All we have to do is figure out what that competing commitment is and align it with building your business. Now, I do have a free training coming up before I give you tips 3 and 4. I know you're excited for tips 3 and 4, but I do have a free training coming up, and it's a week long, and you're going to be getting access to some incredibly powerful interventions. I'm a little hesitant to even do this training because I think a lot of you, once you come through, you're going to get so much just in the first week. Basically, it's my entire coaching program for self-mastery for business owners, but you get the first week of it for free. So I'm kind of hesitant to give it away because it's so lit. I mean, it is so freaking lit. It might put me out of a job, but that's okay. I'll just have to get better. But also gives you a way to immediately test drive for yourself and learn just how quickly you can start to shift. And if it is something that's powerful, I expect some of you will stay on. But I do have a free training coming up. So let me know if you're interested in that. Deb says, so excited. Deb, that's awesome. You're definitely in. Earl, I don't know who Joe Flaherty is. Flaherty? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Sounds Irish. But anyway, so we talked about being clear. We talked about transforming resistance. Let's talk about limiting beliefs for a second. This is a buzzword. It's very buzzy in personal development these days, right? So people are always talking about limiting beliefs. You got to believe in yourself. You know, the thing is that there's a little more nuance to it than that. It's a little more nuanced. And so understanding that beliefs do influence your performance, absolutely influence your performance. Once upon a time, I was a martial arts instructor. It's a true story. Once upon a time, I was a martial arts instructor, and we would test the other students. And on test day, let's say you came in with a green belt, and you were doing your punches or whatever. So we'd be sitting there, we'd be evaluating your performance, we'd be looking for certain things to see how well you're performing the technique. You pass the test, the next day you come in with a blue belt. You just leveled up. And then the instructors and I, we would all comment on how weird it was that all of a sudden, the green belts, after one day, now all of a sudden their techniques look weeks or months better than they did the day before. Weeks or months better. I'm not playing at all. So they go, literally, their punches coming in like this, all of a sudden are so much sharper, so much tighter, so much more crisp. The only thing that changed is that we put a new belt on them. The only thing that changed. But with that new belt, something shifts in the mind where you start to see yourself differently. Suddenly you start to perceive yourself as more skilled. And there's a lot of research on self-efficacy. There's a lot of literature that shows us that having a practice where you consistently upgrade your belief system so that you learn to expect more and more from yourself, what that does, it actually leads to better performance. And we know this universally, but unfortunately, it's underutilized. Most people are just not utilizing it. And then, on the other hand, we have a ton of limiting beliefs about ourselves. Typically, most of us grew up in the United States or this world, for example, where we grew up with these ideas about ourselves. Our beliefs about ourselves, about our clients, about our skills, about how quickly it's possible to scale. These things put a limit on your success. And so what we really want for you is a way to begin to create an ongoing practice of aligning your vision and your values and your beliefs together and continuing to refresh those so that you become the type of person who's always in that upward spiral. Now, number 4, rhymes with clarity. Training sounds great. Awesome, Earl. Mariam says, thank you. Hi, Mariam. Yeah, awesome. I'm very excited to share this with you. So, numero quattro, number 4. Habituation. Habituation is the process of all learning. Habituation is the process of all learning. For those of you on here who are NELPers, we're talking about anchoring, but where I think we see this in the current research in psychology is on habit formation through things like association, right? Neurons that fire together, wire together. And the more this neural pathway fires, the stronger that neural pathway gets. If you've ever been sledding and you take your sled down the snow, you carve into the snow grooves. And then if you take that sled down the same path again and again, over the course of a couple trips, now that pathway has become ingrained in the snow. It becomes difficult now to get this sled to go a different path, right? This habituation is foundationally why it's difficult for people to change, right? Because their old thinking habits, their self-doubt, whatever it is, their bad habits, they're in this neural pathway. They're stuck going down the hill in the same direction, okay? With me, habituation is really about taking the new behaviors, the new thoughts, the new emotions, forging the new neural pathway, forcing the sled down a different path, commanding it to go down the right path, and then reinforcing that again and again and again until that becomes the automatic pathway. And the research on this is very, very clear that even as adults, our brains engage in something called synaptic pruning, where the neural pathway, that hill that we didn't use, well, guess what? Once the brain realizes you're not using those old thoughts, you're not using those old habits, you're not doing that anymore, then the brain begins to take the myelin, it's a fatty acid, away from that neural pathway and direct it towards what's being used. And you can watch in brain imaging as neural pathways begin to demyelinate. You can see the structures begin to change around them. So habituation is really about, are you in the habit of being a high performer? That's it, right? And you don't, by the way, you can choose the habit. So the habit can be, being in productive, consistent action ecstatically. You can feel good while you're a high performer, right? So really what this training is about, and what coaching with me in general is about, is aligning your vision, your values, your beliefs, and then cultivating the right habits neurologically so that you create a feed forward mechanism in your business and then outside of it for ultimate fulfillment. Now, if that sounds dope, if that sounds awesome, let me get some feedback inside the comments. That's amazing, etc. So I do have the free training. It is coming up in 11 days. So the free training is happening. It's more of a test drive, really. You're getting a week of free coaching for you to test drive what coaching is. Let's see, where are we? So today is the 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Deb said dope, bro. Super dope. And Monday the 29th. Okay. So in essence, right? Get clear. Transform your resistance. You're going to want to change any limiting beliefs and habituate the new responses so that you're automatically kicking butt. All right. Namaste. Good to see everybody on the live. Thank you for being here. Definitely share this. That helps more people get access to it. And truly, this is information that people need to start using. They need it. The habituation thing is kind of personal to me. I mean, I'm not going to go into it in this live, but it is a really, really personal topic, and it's not fair that people don't have these tools. It's not fair. But anywho, that's for a different time. Deb, thank you for derailing me on the past life regression talk. That was fun, and I'll be in touch shortly.